Hey guys, Silas J here with another Python tutorial. Today I'm going to get into what a list is and what a tuple is and how to create them using Python. So if you're ready, let's kick it off. So we have already spoken about variables and how they are practically containers that hold a single value. If you haven't watched that video and you don't know what a variable is, I have a link in the description below explaining what a variable is. Anyway, let's get into what a list is. A list is a container that holds several values. Unlike the variable, which holds only one value, the list can hold many values. So then what is a tuple? Well, a tuple is a container that can also hold many values, just like its sibling, the list. So then what's the difference between the two? The difference between the two is the way you can modify the values or the elements in each container. With a list, you can change any element to something else, while a tuple, you can't. I'll explain this with an example. Let's say I have a list and a tuple and I've assigned 10 elements to each container and they both contain the numbers 0 to 9. Now let's say I want to change the first element to the word 0, but keep everything else the same. With a list I can do that, but with a tuple I can't, unless I create a new container and assign it to the old tuple. Here's another example. I have a list and another tuple, and they both have the letters A to Z. But I made a mistake in the middle, and instead of an I have a J. So I wish to change it to an I. Well, with a list I can do that, but with a tuple I just get an error, unless I create a new tuple all over again and assign it to the old tuple. The benefit of the tuple, though, is when your program is running, you might not want your container to be modified. So instead of using a list, which can easily be modified by mistake or on purpose, a tuple will ensure that your data won't be changed. And whenever you want to modify your data, you can always create a list and then transfer the data from the tuple to the list, and then you have the ability to modify your data, just like that. Okay, now let's actually see this in action. Okay, here I am back on my desktop, and I'm going to show you how to create a list and a tuple using Python. So let's first open up our IDE and create a new file. A Python file this time, and remember all Python files have to have a .py extension at the end. I'm just going to call this my list. I'm going to also save this, and there we go. We have created our Python file and we're ready to get started. So how do we create a list? Well, it's very similar to actually creating a variable. So let's start off with a name. We have to name the list. So we're going to do my list. And we're going to also have to do the equal sign. So we're going to do equals because we're assigning it to something. In this case, we want a list. So my list equals what? Well, this is the container. This is practically the list. We have actually created our list. That's it. And if we print my list to the terminal instead of my variable, what do you expect we're going to get? Well, if I run it, we get exactly what we have in the myList variable or list. So now let's actually go fill this up here. Let's do some numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So what do you think we're going to get if I print this to the terminal? Well, if we try it, exactly whatever we have in the list, we get right in the terminal. Okay, so that's interesting, but let's try something now. We have my list. Let's say I want to access this number 2 right here. Let's say I want to access that element. Well, all I have to do is get the list, put another brackets, and this is practically saying, get my list, but get the element I want in here. And that would be for, if I want number 2, I would do 1, because with coding in general, the computer always starts from index 0. It never starts from 1. It always starts from 0. So technically, this would be 0 to the computer. This would be 1. This would be 2, and so on and so on. But to us, this would be 1. This would be 2. This would be 3. But to the computer, this is 0. This is 1. And this is 2. And so on and so on. So if I want 2, I'm going to have to go get 1 because this is 0 and this is 1. So my list equals 1. And now, what do I want to do here? Well, I want to change 2 to equal, I know you guys might get angry at me, but I'm going to change it to Silas again. And now, if I print my list, what do you think should happen? Do you think it's actually going to change? Yes or no? Well, if I run the terminal here, oh wow, look at that. It says 1 Silas 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. So what I just did here is I have a list, and I said go to index 1, which is 2, because remember, it starts from 0 and then it goes to 1. So get index 1 and change it to Silas, and now it's Silas. Now let's try that with my variable. Let's try. Let's see what happens here. My variable, index 1, what do you think is going to happen? Run this, and we have an error. And it says error in this file, line 5, which is here, by the way, and this is where the error occurs, saying line 5, my variable index 1 equals Silas, and it's saying stir, which we'll get into data objects and data types later on, and we're going to talk about what those are also, but right now it's saying string, because this is a string. It has 2 quotes, which means it's a string. Does not support item assignment, and that's because I'm saying go find index 1, which there is no index 1 here, as you can clearly tell, because it's not a container. So it's saying look for the first index in the container, but this is not a container. It's just a piece of text. So I'm getting an error because of that. But here, this is a container. So that's why I can go say, oh, so this is container, this is element 0 in the container, this is element 1, and then it goes and assigns element 1, or Silas to element 1. Okay, so that's practically it with lists, but I'm actually going to show you one more example. Let's say I want to get number 5. Well, let's do this. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be index 4 to get element 5. So now we have index 4, and I'm going to change this, not to myself again. I'm going to go change this to 22. Actually, we'll do 55. If I run this, we should see 5 is now 55. Oh yeah, forgot. This is supposed to be my list. It can't be my variable. Let's try that again. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 55, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And we wanted to change the 5 to 55, and that's exactly what happened. Now let's say we want to change this one, the last one, 0. Now how would we do that? Well, we could just simply do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, we could do that. And we could change it to 100. And it's 100. But a better solution to get the last element would be to do -1. And -1 means we're going to the end of the container, or the list, I should say, and we're assigning it 100. So I should have the same result as if I did 9. And let's run this, and exactly, we have the exact same result as if we did 9. So that's it for lists. I'm going to save tuples for a different time because that would take another extra 10 minutes. But in the next video, we're going to actually speak about tuples and compare the difference between lists and tuples. Thanks for watching.